How you handle your lawn care impacts our water and air. In 1 hour, a gas-powered mower produces the same amount of pollution as a car driven 100 miles. Gas-powered lawn equipment harms our air. And yard waste down storm drains causes flooding and water pollution. Using too much fertilizer releases harmful chemicals into our air and runs off lawns, eventually reaching our rivers and streams. Healthy lawn care habits protect your family, our community, and the environment. Healthy yards for healthy communities.
Podium on, broadcast on. All right, going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Smith,
Present.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Here.
Councilmember Clark is absent. Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Todd.
Here.
Councilmember Saper is absent. Councilmember McGrone.
Here.
All right, next item, Pledge of Allegiance. This evening will be led by Councilmember Smith. They stayed with the normal cadence there. Next item, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Boom.
Brian, were you not going to pull anything? The agenda?
On the consent, you mean? Is that? I mean, we can do it before the consent, right before we approve it too, right? We don't have to do it necessarily at that point.
Okay.
I can do either way.
Are you getting rid of these?
All right. I mean, we've done the motion, we've done the second. We'll pull it at the beginning. Comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening, please step up to the podium, which seems closer than normal.
Hey, before you run the clock. If I can't get it done in 5 minutes, I want to sit down and I'm going to come back, because I have quite a bit on this one subject. Okay. Okay, my name is Liz Ryan, 2417 Erie. And I really want to thank you for being so supportive of the park, Anthony and Linda. And I was going to say Amy, because you come to our functions and everything and been to the things that we have been to, and know, and especially Linda. And first of all, I want to thank the council for being very supportive and gracious to us. And I want to stress the fact that the park wants to be self-sufficient. And that's what we've worked for. So this comes to the use tax. I am against the use tax going to the general fund. We've had many obstacles that we've had to go through. And why go to the use fund? We have fought to get everything we wanted to do it. Is a use fund? Is a general fund short? Anyway, we have had to ask for money and beg, borrow, and steal, going back to 2012. A lot of times we were chewed and the whole board came. And sometimes I wish I'd have brought a pillow to sit on after they got through with us. But anyway, first of all, they had the Blankenship Hancock. Okay, we had that. So they passed that, and we had went door to door, all of the park board, literature and everything, and went to them for a tax increase. That passed. Well, then the Hancock, that took place. So then we decided we've got to do something. We're going to be self-sufficient. So we went and we did Proposition P. And we had got all our ducks in a row. We had everything, and we passed it. And I was there from morning till night. And I guarantee you, if the council wants to put that on the general fund, I will be there. I know everybody that voted, the residents. And if you ever think any of them forgot Armour Road, it's a figment of your imagination, because they haven't. So anyway, I know how many of those, I know most of the people, and they want it. And if I have to be in a wheelchair, or there, or in a bed, I will be there, and I will let the people that I know that wanted this, and I will tell them what the council might do. But we worked so hard to fight for it. We want to be independent. I can go back to 2012, and all of these, if this passes, a lot of you may not even be on the council anymore. They want the money. Nobody has been on this council that we had. I had 2 council people that's on there. And they said, oh, Liz, you guys have done well. One of the council people didn't want us to have a new deal. Oh, they were asking for money all the time. They can't afford it. They saw me at Proposition P. Liz, you guys have done wonderful. Yeah, we're self-sufficient. And then Fred Steffen, I'll never forget it. He said, I just wish I'd have listened a little bit more before I retired. And it's just that, and then here we got this tax going to come up. It's called the Senior Tax Bill 190. What effect may that have on us? Does anyone know? Anyway, I am very much against it. Whether I'm in a stretcher or a wheelchair or whatever, I will be there fighting for this not to go to the general fund. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate what all that you have done for us. But there's been a lot of things we've had to, I can remember one time it was such a little amount of money we asked this for the council. They said, here you are again, need money. And they gave half of it to what we wanted. And then we had to come back to get more. Here they are again, they need money. We want the council to do that to us again? No. So anyway, I just think that you should be strong consideration. There's other people who feel the same way that I do, but they don't want to get up to talk. But you know, my skin's tough and I'm old, so what makes a difference? But anyway, I want you to really keep that in deal. And it's just, with the Proposition P, did you have any idea what we did? We had people come from different municipalities and talk to us, educate us, and we done all of this. And you know very well, Katie, that we did that. And they showed us what to do. They came, and we did it. We got all the information, and we ran with it. And we worked on it, and we did it. So I wish that you could have strong consideration about the use tax. And if I offended anybody, I'm sorry, but I have a strong feeling about this. And once I'm strong on something, I don't give in. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the public? Seeing none. Ceremonial matters. You plan on staying the whole meeting, right? Well, no, I was just, you're getting a proclamation for the conclusion here at the beginning. I didn't know. Yeah, we can do it. We can tackle
Whatever
this.
you want to do.
We'll tackle this. We'll let you get some more business in first, and then we'll get rid of you here. No, thank there. I looked at that. Unless you guys are going to head out, and then you're okay. Then we'll keep moving along. Sorry, that was number 7. Number 7. Okay, I'll get it. Draft memorandum of understanding for emergency lodging. Mike.
Mayor, members of the council, discussion occurred at the last meeting, May 7th meeting, regarding funding for Northland Assistance Center for additional emergency lodging funds is kind of what I've called it here. But it was asked to be brought back a draft MOU of what might be included. But again, as you can see in the packet, the MOU that's in here is stamped draft. It's just for discussion purposes to find out if there's interest in providing funds other than cold weather emergency lodging, and if so, for what services. There is a letter included. Rita Pierce with Northland Assistance Center had a prior commitment. She couldn't make it tonight. She did send a letter that's in the packet explaining kind of her thoughts and requests. Total request for $3,000 for emergency sheltering. But again, the main thing was to see if there's interest, and if so, for what.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I will open this. I'm trying to get my agenda open still. Go ahead and open this up for the floor for discussion. Did you have? That was it? Good. What guidance do we have from the council? Councilmember Graham.
I was looking at the letter that Rita submitted, and it looks like they're asking for $3,000. Personally, after reading the types of services that they've been given over the last several years and the number of people that they've helped, I think $3,000 is a fair and reasonable amount to offer for those services, so I would support this MOU at $3,000.
Thank you. Further comments? Councilmember Todd.
Yep, I'll just second that. I also support this. I also do want to note, I think Rita did a great job of also just kind of outlining those things that we've talked about a lot, that it's when someone's been released from medical care with no other lodging. In a domestic violence case, it's when North Kansas City Police or Fire has contacted her. It's kind of when all other options are exhausted. And so, in big support of this.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith and Councilmember Alvarez.
So Rita's letter the numbers are not what I thought they would be. Is this is not including the cold weather stuff. This is just that what they've done without our support for emergency lodging. Is that
Correct. Yes.
okay? And then for the top piece, extreme hot weather. It says for extreme hot weather when the heat index value is expected to reach or exceed 110 and not fall below 75 for at least 48 hours. Is 75 correct?
I grabbed that off of NOAA.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and I mean, trying to see what
Yeah.
was a starting point.
Yeah, I mean, when we do the cold weather piece, the idea is to keep people from dying outside in the cold. Extreme heat can be fatal, but I mean, the bar for this is a lot different than cold, and 75 is quite comfortable. I'm not sure where it reaches that threshold, if others have thoughts on that, but I would need it to see it higher than 75 degrees to allow this.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yeah, my thoughts run along with Councilmember Smith. During the day is when the heat is the hottest, and there are other air-conditioned locations where people can go. And so I think we were trying to avoid doing the extreme hot weather just because there is other options as far as that. So for sure, I would want it to be a higher number as well, but also I would even venture to just take it off completely, but that's maybe too extreme. I'm open to discussion.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez.
I would agree. I think maybe number 3 could be removed because I don't really think it has that much to do with the weather. Like you said, there's cooling centers, but I do want to compliment her on the draft that she made, the lodging event report. I think that covers, if that was to be filled out, covers pretty much what we were looking for accountability. So I just wanted to say I do appreciate that.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I'd also be in support of funding this. It's a relatively small amount that goes towards an organization helping residents of our North Kansas City community that are out of options. I did want to clarify one piece. On the memo cover to this, there are 4 items listed as eligible. On the recitals, item D, we dropped the 4th item, so I just was trying to get some clarification on if that number 4 is any other emergency situation referred by the North Kansas City police or fire departments. I'd be in support of that being in there. May need to add that to get the 2 documents to match.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I guess to put a bow on that one is the swap 3 for 4 within the MOU. So like strike the 3 and replace it with any other emergency situation referred by fire, police.
With that, Ms. Pierce came in yesterday, and she did ask that regarding number 4, the any other emergency situation with the referral, if it could say or social service provider. She said there are times where social services reaches out directly. So I told her I would pass that along.
That opens a very wide net.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like she said she's going to come back if she needed more time here. She could. I could. No, good. Was that you were good on that?
I mean, that opens a really wide net. I like leaning on our professionals here. If they have some really pressing situation to send our way, then yeah.
Councilmember Fisher.
I'd agree with that, Councilmember Smith's assessment there. I don't think this is currently written with a definition for social services provider, so that leaves it pretty far open. Maybe if we wanted to get some language defining that in there in the future, I'd be open to amending it. But for now, I would prefer to keep this as written.
Thank you. Further comments? Seeing none. Sounds like generally you have a few things you can bring back in a draft.
Yeah, I can bring it back
go.
next meeting. I've got the notes from this, so bring back something for consideration at the next meeting. Is that
Perfect.
okay?
Seems like everyone's in agreement. There you go. We're moving along tonight. The next item, Councilmember Clark is not here. She asked that we discuss this at a future meeting. And so if we are good with that, We will then skip number 8 for this meeting. We'll move on to the consent agenda, where I'm going to ask that we remove number 12 and consider it as the first item on the regular agenda. Correct? We doing that? Is that? Yes. Item 12, it's Frank's appointment. Yeah, I'm gonna, I guess I don't need a motion, I'm just removing it. Let's just move this along. All right, is there a motion to approve the amended, yeah, no, you stay for this part. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item number 12.
Reappointment of Frank McGrone to the Parks and Recreation Board for a term to expire on June 1st, 2027.
There we go. Is there a motion to reappoint Frank McGrone? Oh, this is getting hot for him.
Move to reappoint Frank McGrone.
I would second. I think Frank's done a great job on the Parks and Rec Committee. As I've attended the meetings, he's brought insightful messages and
I assume we removed this, so Lindsay had to recuse.
Yes.
There it
Oh,
is.
okay, well, yes.
Yeah,
Frank's
sorry,
great,
that wasn't
and
a targeted- I'm
yes,
sorry.
There was
I'm
no
in favor.
explainer for that. I was wondering what the, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I guess I've been staring. Yeah, I've had this in my mind now for like 2 weeks. so.
Okay, just a second then. Yes, I second.
There we go. Now I get first and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. You are reappointed. Oh, look at that. Magic around here. Item number 19.
Recreational marijuana sales tax ordinance, Bill number 7849, ordinance number 9646.
Move to approve.
You can start there if you want.
Your first reading?
Second.
All right, further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, here we go. An ordinance imposing an additional sales tax of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use non-medical marijuana sold in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2, subsection 6 of the Missouri Constitution, subject to the approval by the voters of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and calling for submission to the voters of North Kansas City, Missouri at a special election to be held in conjunction with the statewide primary election on August 6, 2024, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election to the Board of Election Commissioners of Clay County, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7849 be placed on final reading, second and final reading, and passes ordinance number 9646.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
An ordinance imposing an additional sales tax of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use non-medical marijuana sold in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2, subsection 6 of the Missouri Constitution, subject to the approval by the voters of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and calling for submission to the voters of North Kansas City, Missouri, at a special election to be held in conjunction with the statewide primary election on August 6, 2024, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election to the Board of Election Commissioners of Clay County, Missouri.
Number 20.
Use tax ordinance, Bill number 7850, ordinance number 9647.
Council comments. Councilmember Smith.
So on this one, a couple things. The ballot language that's proposed here, is that what other cities have used on their first run at it?
As far as I know, 100% of them have used that.
Okay.
Now, 100% of those I've researched, probably 6 or 7, and I didn't try to eliminate any. Plus, the statutory language is pretty clear that it shall be in substantially the form that's set forth in the statute.
Okay.
Okay? We didn't have that in the one you just passed for the marijuana. It didn't give the form of the question. This does, and there was even a case that made it to the Missouri Supreme Court in 2016 where there was a challenge and there was an attempt to say that one of their, it was at a county level, but one of the sub parts of the county, I think, was their emergency services had a percentage of the sales tax, and the court said, no, it doesn't work that way. If the county, in this case it would be the city, would like to designate something to go to a particular, other entity that gets funds, you can do that, but it's not part of the election. Okay, it would be part of designating an amount of money, or, a percentage that would go, voluntarily, like by resolution ordinance that you would pass. X percent is designated to go to the Y commission or the B commission or whatever.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you. Second piece, the reason I ask about the language is, and I assumed this was fairly stock, is there is the educational component to it, and when somebody sees this, most people who show up to a vote on a proposition either know a lot about it or know nothing about it, and I didn't know if there was any explainer language on a use tax that could be added, but it sounds like not.
I would discourage you
Fair.
adding much more than the name of the city.
I would not want to take anything to the Missouri Supreme Court, so we'll roll with this one. Third thing, thank you for getting it on the agenda so quickly. I know that was a tall order. And then to Liz's point about Prop P, I mean, huge props to getting that done, but this doesn't reverse Prop P. This keeps Prop P in place. This is all new revenue, and so it doesn't affect what the park gets at all. The park will get exactly what they have up until this point, no matter how this is worded. So I would move for a first reading.
Is there a second?
I'd like to make a comment before.
Yeah, we can do
move
more
on.
comments too. Yeah, either way, how we can, yeah. good.
Yeah, so the last time we talked about this, two things. One, I didn't really know what a use tax was, and it's my understanding now, and just help me understand, just so I'm clear, the only people who will pay this tax are people who purchase items from out of state online and have those items delivered to a North Kansas City address. So only our residents and our businesses will have to pay this tax, correct? So we would be voting on a tax increase that our residents only would have to pay, not people who come from other places that currently pay sales tax, right? Okay. In that case, I'm not in favor of putting this on a ballot right now. We're already going to put a marijuana tax on the ballot. I don't think our budget is in such a sad state that we need to put a tax that is only going to affect our residents on a ballot right now. If for some reason this gets put on the ballot, I am, unlike last week, I am now opposed to only having it go to the general fund. I would like to see that sales tax spread out among the way that the sales taxes are currently spread out, because our residents voted to put a sales tax on something. They wanted a portion of that sales tax to go to the parks or the police or transportation fund. And if we are going to put a tax on our residents that only they have to pay, I would like for that sales tax to be distributed in the way that they've already said they would like it distributed. So that's all I got.
Thank you, and I would tend to agree to that. What I would say is the only reason the tax rate is 2.25% is due to those allocations, due to it being voted that way, due to 1% general fund tax, due to a half-cent for a transportation tax, quarter for parks, half for public safety. And so that's the only reason it is 2.25 anyways, is due to those votes that intended for the money to be split that way. Councilmember Todd.
Yes, first and foremost, I do want to say I never think there's a great time to put tax on a ballot. Like, it's just, there isn't a great time. I do think August 6th is really quick in order for us to educate our residents well. So I just don't know that it would be successful. But we can also, put it on another ballot again in the future if it isn't successful. But I will say I do think August 6th is pretty quick, and I think it will need a lot of education around it. The second piece that I want to say is just that, yes, it is an imposed tax for current residents. but this is something that is commonplace. It's something that's catching up to technology, quite frankly. It's, we didn't used to be able to buy everything online and buy everything on Amazon. These kinds of online places are taking away from local business, from kind of the mom and pop shops that we have around town. And so people can purchase something online, and it is cheaper than walking down to the mom or pop shop or supporting local business, because there is not a tax necessarily imposed on that if they purchase it online versus if they walk down the street and purchase it at a store. And so it might seem insignificant, but again, I'm such a huge proponent of just doing small things that we can do to make any sort of impact. And so even though it seems so small to say, it's going to be cheaper anyway online than it would be to walk down the street, I want to provide some sort of incentive to shop local instead. And so even if that means now we're getting a little closer to the same price, I think small things eventually add up. And so I do support the use tax. I don't know that August 6th is the best timing, because I think a lot of education needs to be done around this. And then as far as where the funds go, ultimately, it's all going to benefit our city. It's all new revenue. And so whether that is split out or whether it goes to the general fund or wherever it goes, I think it's only going to do good things here in our city. So I guess that's what I'll say. I would be in favor of putting it on August 6th if everyone's gung-ho about it. Otherwise, I would say let's push it to a later ballot where we can really support it with some education in advance.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
A couple items I wanted to touch on, but first, I had a question for you, Mr. Barzee. I wanted to understand, so would I be understanding correctly that this ballot language is effectively standard across any jurisdiction issuing this, and as far as allocating which fund it goes into, that's not something that would ever be in the ballot language?
Right, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court was talking about. In fact, the quote is, "This court," meaning the Missouri Supreme Court, "cannot add language to the statute that does not exist. As a result, absent any specific statutory direction as to distribution of the local use tax revenue to third-class counties," in this case, it would be a third-class city, it's the same statute, okay? It is, in fact, within the discretion of the commission, the county commission is who they're referring to, here it would be the city council, to share with a board a proportion of that revenue. So it's within your discretion, but I don't think it's within your discretion to change
Did you
the
turn it?
statutory language.
Will you turn your mic back on? Did you turn
Pardon?
it off? I'm not sure that was, I think your mic cut off there somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know that it was, now you just turned it off. Like I said, you turned it. Now it's not within your discretion to change statutory language. Okay? It is within your discretion on how you use the funds. I want to make that really clear, and the court says that. Okay? In other words, if there's a decision by you folks that say, okay, what we're going to do is give, the same percentage to, I don't know, the public safety, transportation, parks, whatever makes up our sales tax, and I don't have them all memorized, but that's within your discretion to do that.
Thank you for clarifying that. And just, I don't know if you have had time to research this, so I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know. But as far as splitting the amounts out between the different funds, if we wanted to keep this the same as our current sales tax is that something we'd pass an ordinance for, or is it just go through like the typical budget and appropriations process?
To be real candid with you folks, here's the thing. Yes, I would urge you to do it by ordinance because it has more teeth to it than if you do it in some other way, if that's your desire. But to be perfectly candid with each of you, as if each of you know, any ordinance that's passed can subsequently be amended or repealed. And that's the reality of it, and I'm not trying to scare off everyone, but I think everyone needs to understand that actions you take today, and you've done it yourself. We've repealed ordinances that have taken place before, and that's also within your discretion to do so.
Understood. Thank you. I assume my own words, but I assume at some levels have to have an understanding between the parks and public safety and transportation on how to use this. If it goes through on the ballot. A couple of other points I wanted to mention is I would be in favor of putting this on the August ballot. I'm looking at that at the perspective of costs we know are coming up to the city. We just saw our stormwater master plan recommended $60 million in capital improvement. We still have the sewer master plan and water master plan outstanding, but I'm also expecting large amounts off of those, so this can be a new source of revenue to help, offset those. We've already had big increases in sewer and water rates, so if we have a new source of funding here, it can alleviate, some of that process. And
Yeah, I guess I'll just be quick. I don't see any other comments at the moment. I'm just not going to support it without some sort of commitment or ordinance to allocating it in a similar way. There's my, to the way it's taxed now, there's my short version, very short version. Councilmember Stokes.
I personally am not in favor of it. As Councilmember McGrone said, it is another tax added onto our residents that only affects people that live here. I love charging people that come to our city, but I think one of the benefits of living here is lower taxes in certain realms. We also just increased other places, we just increased their water bills. So maybe if this is one way we can alleviate some costs, maybe that's good. I also think that the wording is very confusing. If I went into a ballot and I read this, so to Councilmember Todd's point, I think it does need some education behind it. If I go in and I'm going to vote, I want to know what I'm voting for, and I want the people to be able to determine whether or not they want it, whether my opinion is or not. I want them to know what they're voting for.
Councilmember Smith.
So as far as the allocation piece, I totally understand why you and a handful of us up here favor allocation into specific buckets. But I want to kind of hammer on Councilmember Fitzgerald's point that we have massive expenses coming up, and this could be a funding source that helps us get those done. Allocating it out to the same way the sales tax is, like, this gives us an opportunity to put it into the general fund and use it for things we really need to, other than having to add special assessments onto sewer or water or something else for that sort of specific funding source. We're going to have big expenses coming up. Now, that said, we can still allocate it as needed to parks or to emergency services. We can do those things, but if we designate it up front, we cannot use it for the other major expenses coming up. And I do think putting it on the August ballot brings in that revenue as soon as, if it is approved, it's a new revenue source and it starts going right away. And that's important because we're going to, one way or another, this stormwater stuff has to get paid for. And the residents will end up bearing that cost one way or another. And this helps us get ahead of that. So I'm strongly in favor of August 6th and going to the general fund.
Thank you. To Liz's point, I mean, I do want to remind folks, we are here now. We are supportive of the parks now. But again, we will turn over. This body has turned over many times. You're not the first to sit in your seats. There's a whole wall of them, not the first mayor. The people will change. And so without those commitments, it's hard to say, like, yeah, we'll do that now. And because it could be unwound, but, you have to go through a process to unwind it. You do have to bring an ordinance about, and then you could have, again, robust public debate, which is what we do, on not allocating that anymore if we don't want to. But Councilmember Todd.
I was going to say something similar, that, yes, to Liz's point, she may not have as supportive of a council, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. And so, and sort of even this thing that we're in with Northland Assistance Center, the constant coming to ask, lots of debate, lots of going back and forth, getting put on an agenda 6 times. That's a I was going to say time suck, and I guess I just did. So it's a time suck. And And I do think there's just a lot of bureaucracy and red tape surrounding that. And I know that we currently support our parks, so I do see how, and again, this is new revenue. So any way you look at it, if it passes, even if it's split out as we have it, the sales tax now, we are still gaining revenue that we didn't have before. And so I think even in order to, especially if it's going to be on an August 6th ballot, and we're going to try and educate very quickly, it's a much easier buy-in to say this is supporting your city in the same way that the sales tax supports your city. It's going to support your parks, it's going to support your police and fire, it's going to support all these things. That is an easier buy-in and an easier thing to educate than trying to tell people that it is going to a general fund, even though, like, logistically, I'm on board with the general fund. I think when it comes to educating our residents and at least having that direct impact that it will have on our residents, because it does take money out of their pocket, at least it's going to support the city in a way that they already know it's happening. Now, I don't think you could ask anyone on the street just what the sales tax breakout is, and they would know. I don't know. I have a general idea, but that's because I'm on council even, you know? So I don't think in general people know that, but just because you don't know something, if you are told that something is different, you're going to be a little more worried and a little more scared. And so I think if we're gonna put it on August 6th, the easier we can make that for our residents to buy into, the better, and the more chance there is of success on August 6th.
Yes, I'll throw in another, I mean, I would recommend pushing this one to November, maybe even April, and then also bringing back an ordinance allocating the funds with it at the same time would be my suggestion. Councilmember Alvarez.
I was just going to add that I also agree. I think that it should be put in general fund because that way we can allocate it for the areas that we need to use it. We don't really know at this point how much we need for this or that, but it's still there for those areas. So it's not like it's not for specific departments. It can be for that, but we just don't know how much. So that's why I think it's a lot more flexible to have it in the general fund. I would agree with that. So I'm not adamant one way or the other about when they put it on the ballot, but I am in favor of it.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd.
And I would say that if we're thinking more along the lines of a general fund, I would want to push it to a different ballot because I think there needs to be a little more marketing and time and education surrounding that. And I do like the idea that we have solidified how we want to spend those funds before we put it on a ballot.
Councilmember Smith. I didn't see which one hit first.
To your point about the marketing of it, it is still going to support everything the city does. So if we said this is supporting the parks, it's supporting the emergency services, it's not specifically put in a lockbox for that, but it's still true. It's still money coming into the city to do things for the residents with. And I just can't be more strong in my opinion that it needs to go to the general fund because you're locking yourself out of other options. If you all recall, and this was in a meeting when we were talking about the Royals, we looked at a graph at what the new stadium could bring in, and it would bring in money to all these different funds via sales tax, and because of the sales tax allocations being voted in by ordinance, it wrong-sized a number of those funds, and then we were trying to figure out, could we inter-fund allocate? How could we right-size this stuff? Because our general fund would need to spend money, and everything else would be locked away in parks and public services and transportation. So I go back to that slide, and I think this is our chance to not lock it away. We need the money for big projects coming up, and that's why
I do believe on that. I mean, I do think that's an extreme example, and I don't disagree, but I believe it's an extreme example, though, because that was multiplying.
Those are big dollars.
Numerous times over, right? So you do
Big
take
dollars.
a system that normally works at a lower level, and as you blow it up, does get strained in different ways.
We're talking all of online sales for North Kansas City. I mean, it's not a small dollar volume.
But you were you have the estimate on this? I mean, you're only talking like
The amount I bought this week on Amazon could probably fund a good chunk of public services.
I mean, where did we get that number from?
2.5 total.
Sorry. You can come to the extremely close podium here. You set that up, Anthony?
We base it off of what we've seen from some other cities that have recently passed use tax. It can vary sometimes depending on projects going on in the city where a business may be, spending a lot of money on a large project. I've seen it go as high as 50% of what general sales tax is collected, but the kind of consensus number that I've seen is 20% of total sales tax. So in our case, that would be about 2.5 million across all four sales taxes that we have.
Thank you. The other one, I was going to pick on another fund. We keep picking on parks. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Transportation. See, and that's another one where, what happens, because we've seen the reality of that is KCATA comes with a contract, or maybe when it considers something else with transportation, and we say, well, look, the transportation fund, we don't have the budget in the transportation fund to do it. And now, I think, again, not putting the dollars in there, you can continue to have the same argument, and then it becomes a big fight over, well, do you want to move money from the general fund to do transportation, or let's not fund transportation anymore, because there's not enough money in the transportation fund to fund it. It's, we've kind of recently had that conversation, but no, just wanted to think through all those little pieces of allocating and how that works. Councilman Fitzgerald, and then we'll go Alvarez.
A couple thoughts. Wait, what was that?
Oh, no, it was Crystal, sorry. You're good.
To be blunt, I want to see this pass because I'm concerned about all the expenses we have coming up. So the more public support, if we can get more public support using the same tax as the current sales tax allocation, I'm fine with that. For some points earlier, I don't really look at this as a new tax. At one point, all retail purchases were subject to sales tax. With the shift to online ordering, the cities, North Kansas City, started to lose out on that revenue that would have already been there. I view this as almost fixing a gap that's opened with, over the past years with shifts to untaxed purchases, but this gets it back where all retail purchases, be it here in North Kansas City or from Amazon or wherever, have the same, sales or use tax rates, the same tax there. And, if there's support for allocating both of those the same, I'm fine with that. And just one final piece is if we are concerned about getting this to pass on the August ballot, I would be in favor of putting this on there and not the marijuana tax. The marijuana tax is relatively insignificant in dollar amount compared to this.
Yes, that one's already. What I say? Councilmember Alvarez is going to call you on.
Just another point for putting it in the general fund is, I think he just said that you can't guarantee the amount. It kind of depends on the sales that are made. So I think that's another reason to put it in the general fund so you don't lock in a certain amount for each department or whatever. I think that's another reason to have it in the general fund because it's not a set amount that's coming in.
And you would still get just south of half of it, I guess, would be in the general fund. I mean, you'd still get the 1% would hit the general fund. Just the other pieces. There you go. Councilmember Graham.
So just to remind everybody, that $2.5 million that we would potentially take in is being paid by residents of North Kansas City and business owners of North Kansas City. It's not being paid by people outside of the city who come in. It is on our backs. So I think it's a little presumptuous to assume that this is going to pass and fix all of the city's budget problems and pay for potential issues that we have with the stormwater and sewers and water and all of that. I know that we have issues with those. I know it's going to be a challenge for us to fund those things. That's where we can be creative and smart people and try to do this without raising taxes on the rest of our residents. So again, I am not in favor of putting this on the ballot in August. I'm not in favor of putting it on the ballot at all in the next year. I'd like to see the marijuana tax go on the ballot, see what kinds of results we get from that, see what kinds of revenue we're getting from our sales taxes, and if we still think that we have a huge problem, then we can think about taxing our own residents.
Yeah, I do think it's a key component, difference like a use tax and a sales tax. Generally, a large percentage of sales tax generally paid for by folks coming into town. So of course, this is why we always try to encourage more economic activity, bring more people into town as well to generate spend and raise that without increasing those burdens on our residents here. Further comments? Councilmember Smith.
So, I mean, the last point I'll make on this one, if we don't have this funding coming in, and I understand the point you're making there, we have to find a way to pay for stuff. We're going to have to either fund it through debt, which will eventually get paid through higher taxes. So it's one hand to the other. It's going to have to get paid for. And getting creative, still, ultimately, the residents will end up paying for most everything that needs to be done through either higher rates on sewer, higher rates, new storm sewer tax, or a new storm sewer fee. So I see this as getting ahead of that. That's my stance on this one.
Further comments?
First reading.
Second.
Second.
Second. First.
What are we doing here?
I did the first reading at the very top.
There we go.
Second then.
Okay. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
No.
Opposed, say no.
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 Motion carries. Well, you're going to roll call it the next time anyways. There.
An ordinance imposing a use tax for general revenue purposes at the rate equal to the total local sales taxes in effect for the privilege of storing, using, or consuming within the city any article of tangible personal property pursuant to the authority granted by and subject to the provisions of sections 144.600 through 144.761 Missouri Revised Statutes, providing for the use tax to be repealed, reduced, or raised in the same amount as any sales taxes repealed, reduced, or raised, and providing for submission of the proposal to the qualified voters of the city for their approval at the special election called and to be held during the statewide primary election on the August 6, 2024, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election to the Board of Election Commissioners of Clay County, Missouri.
I move that, we have,
No, you got to move.
You
Well,
can
yeah,
make the motion
there's
first.
got to be some sort of motion first. Yes.
I move that bill number 7850 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9647.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes,
no.
Councilmember Todd,
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone,
No.
Vote fails.
fails.
Yes.
Ordinance needs how many?
You have
Five.
to have 5.
Item 21.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through May 15th, 2024. Bill number 7851, ordinance number 9648.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through May 17th, 2024.
I move to bill number 7851 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9648.
Is there a
Second.
second? There we go. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Smith?
Yep.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through May 17th, 2024.
Staff comments.
All right, members of the council, staff comments tonight. We have the upcoming city items of note, the grant tracker. I will point out, we've added in a monthly income statement. It's a work in progress. This is the first one. It will look different the next month, but we wanted to get it in there. It gives you, our original budget, the current budget, which is if anything has been amended year to date, it shows the difference in those. Then our year-to-date activity, monthly activity, this one's going to be off a little bit because we ran it mid-month in May. That's what we're going to work on for, the next one you get will be through the end of May. But we wanted to get this in here, just the main thing for you to see where our budget is, or what, comparing the budget to the year-to-date and the percent remaining. I mean, just give you ideas. But this will keep coming monthly for that. Also, wanted to point out, there's a memo in there on the River Forest Park and House Shared Use Joint City Council and Parks Board meeting, June 13th. It's a Thursday at 6 p.m. At the Parks Board at their meeting. So it'll be at the Parks and Rec building. And we'll have reminders out, but wanted to point that out in there. And also, I believe Director Sands has a comment. That's it.
Just had a quick utility update. So Spire Gas Energy is going to start working on a project on Swift Street from 29th Avenue to 32nd Avenue. They're going to be in the northbound lanes. Their traffic control plan right now, as it is, they're shifting the travel lane into the parking lanes, and they will be designating no parking on that entire stretch. They anticipate this work to be starting Thursday. They're putting out signs here tonight to start to get people's information out there. They're going to go door to door tomorrow, and then again plan on starting Thursday. They anticipate this will be about a week and a half process.
Was this an emergency repair? Or?
No, this is part of their ongoing citywide.
Their larger project.
Replacing all the mains in the city.
Yeah, so we're going to be having a lot of these over the next.
There's going to be a lot of these over
several years.
Yeah.
Councilmember Todd had a question.
Yeah. Do we have any timeline on when they're going to be cleaning up the messes they've already made?
Which ones?
Erie Street?
Erie Street. So we've held them to repaving certain areas. They've actually been working with us pretty good as far as patchwork and what they're going back and repaving for as far as like entire lanes. The city does not have a kind of a policy on how much they have to repave depending on which patches how close the patches are together. But we've been working with them, and so far it's been working out pretty good. They've kind of been holding us to the Kansas City standard, which is if they're in certain proximity to each other, they repave the entire lane. They did that on 23rd west of Burlington. They've done that on Atlantic.
What about the sidewalks?
There are a few sidewalk patches right now that they are trying to work through the weather on right now for repairing those. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Go ahead.
What about emergency services access to the gardens? That's a pretty well-traveled route.
It's northbound lanes, that we're talking about. Yeah, southbound lanes will not be affected by this.
Okay.
The west side of Swift.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture how. I guess you know better than. There you go. Thanks.
Got it. Further staff comments? Seeing none. Councilmember comments. Councilmember Smith.
I see there was a couple short-term conditional use permits on the consent agenda. Is that was a change from last meeting? Are we going to stop approving those as a council?
It's a work in progress, us going through, making sure we hit every spot in the code.
Okay.
That would need to, and then we'll bring back.
Because it was just the discussion.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Couple of the appointments for board and commission were reappointments, but they were largely incomplete applications. David, I know, has done an amazing job on the Parks Board, but his application had virtually no content, and that's not very helpful to folks who are newer on council or don't know David personally. And then he even mentioned, hey, if you need me to attach a resume, let me know. Let's let them know. So if somebody is applying even for a reappointment, I would really like to see those applications filled out. And then the ever ongoing planning for a gun safety community discussion has a time and place. That will be a Chicken and Pickle on June 7th at 6:30 p.m. Details to follow on social media and whatnot. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fitzgerald.
I'd echo those comments on requesting complete applications for board appointments. Those are always helpful, looking through those. I know they're usually on the consent agenda, but even still, make sure we know what we're voting on, I suppose. And I looked at that monthly budget versus actual report. I'm a big fan of that. So thank you, whoever's involved in that.
Thank you. Councilmember Alvarez. Oh, is that it? There you go, Councilmember Alvarez. Thank you.
I don't have anything.
Nothing.
I have nothing. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Councilmember Stokes.
I have a small speech. Thank you for the staff for their patience in teaching me about local government. I'm thankful that I got to serve on the council with people that maybe I didn't have the same ideas as, but we were able to work together to try and propel our city forward to be as wonderful a place it is. 12 years ago when I moved to North Kansas City, I didn't know I would fall in love with this little spot of earth. But although I moved 1,200 miles from anyone I knew, the members of this community enveloped me in love and became my family. And it's a really special place, and I've been very lucky to live here. And I'm going to continue to enjoy connected ties. I am excited to be part of the newly formed Parks and Rec Foundation to help continue at the city. But it's a wonderful place to live, and I thank everyone that's been involved to continue to make it a great place to live.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd.
Well, I was going to say no comments, but now I have to follow that up. Come on. I just want to say thank you, Katie, so much for not just your time here, but also for just being a shining light for me as a new council member in the last year. You're so insightful and so thoughtful and so kind. And I just really value you and everything that you've done for this city. It's better because you've been here, and I appreciate you so much. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember McGrone.
I'll just second what Tabitha said, and that's all I've got.
So that leaves me. It has truly been an honor to work with you. I always say, appointments aren't always necessarily fun. Everyone wants to get involved, and you got to let a lot of people down. But with you, yeah, it was, I don't know. I was really happy you applied. Really happy I got to meet you through that process, get you on the board here. Then you get reelected. The people like what you're doing, get you up here again, and thank you for all your contributions and just the way you've jumped into things. And it's been an honor. So thank you. And now I will make you do the certificate presentation here up front. Wait. Yeah, we're going down there. Crew too.
And do you want to get
a family photo? We got room up here. We got room.
You want to get the council behind too?
Yeah.
Join in, you guys. You're all part of it.
Everybody in? 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay.
I'm going to also say thank you. The ceremonial switch up got me all mixed up, but it's been amazing to work with you. You've done such great work for the city, and we'll certainly miss you around these parts. Don't be a stranger.
With that, I have no further comments. Thank you. 20. Hold on. I'm removing one. 26. Okay, yeah, 25, please.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a contractual matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.02112.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe?
Yes.
With that, I'm gonna break decorum here. I should have said this during 24. We will be opening up an application process as well for this council seat. There you go. Now that everyone's turned off the feed. We don't need item 26. So with that, there'll be no further public business discussed. We are in executive session.